Today we're going to talk about keystone species, especially the keystone species of the southern oceans. So what is a keystone species? Let's take a look at the environment of the southern oceans first. What this graph shows is the mass of the Antarctic over time. As you can see, the Antarctic has been shrinking since 2003. This is misleading, though, because the mass of the Antarctic naturally fluctuates. It grows larger, then it shrinks, then it grows larger, then it shrinks, larger, shrinks, so on. In this graph, the Antarctic is just in its shrinking phase. Right now, in 2016, though, the Antarctic appears to be in one of its growth phases, leading many people to believe that global warming is just a joke. How can the Antarctic be getting so large if the Earth is getting warmer, we wonder? As mentioned before, the size of the Antarctic fluctuates. It gets larger, then it gets smaller, and so on. However, the changes of the fluctuations have been dramatically increasing. The Antarctic keeps growing larger than it's ever been before, and then it shrinks to a size smaller than it's ever been before. Right now, the Antarctic is recorded to be in one of its largest phases it's ever been. So what will happen once it returns back to its shrinking phase? It's going to get very small. Oh boy, who will save Christmas now? Those poor penguins. Speaking of penguins, one mystery really increased our understanding of global warming and the environment. Chinstrap penguins are ice-avoiding, meaning they spend most of their time in the water, while ice-loving penguins prefer to spend most of their time on land. During the early 20th century, the Antarctic was in one of its shrinking phases, so scientists expected that the ice-avoiding penguins would be able to cope with this change better. However, that was not the case. About half of each population was eliminated. That is a lot of dead penguins. So why did all those penguins die? The answer is krill! Meet Kristen the krill, our keystone species of the southern oceans. Scientists suspected that both populations of penguins were dependent upon the krill, and then krill's natural predators, whales, seals, and fish, were hunted so much to a point that the krill population increased. Now having more food available, the penguin populations also increased. But what do krill eat? They feed off the algae that grows underneath the ice caps. However, as many people know, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. What you may not know is that oceans absorb this gas, and then it reacts with carbonate to form bicarbonate, increasing the acidity of the ocean. This harms all crustaceans because it depletes the amount of carbonate available, and carbonate is a compound that crustaceans use to build their shells. But there's another problem with rising acidity. In acidic waters, krill embryos develop more slowly. When they develop too slowly, they sink too deep in the ocean before they hatch, and then they starve to death before they're able to swim back to the surface to feed off the algae underneath the ice caps. Krill are one of the largest animal populations on Earth, but recently they've decreased by about 80%. That is a lot of dead krill. And when all the krill die, so many other animals lose a primary food source, so they starve too. That is a lot of dead sea critters, guys, and it's all because of the effect of the increase in carbon dioxide on a single species. Here's my references. So yeah, that's the keystone species of the southern oceans. Feel free to post any questions.